Jesus. That's what my parents told me. They gave me a beard and white robes and sandals. And when I was 6 years old, I started blessing stuff. I could be forever found walking amongst the poor and the homeless, consoling the drunks and the drug addicts, and generally consorting with the type my mom and dad didn't deem suitable for a 6-year-old to be consorting with. Each time they would drag me home from some, in their opinion, unsafe resort, I would stamp and scream and throw my dollies about. And when my parents would counter that Jesus never stamped and screamed and threw his dollies about, I'd reply, well, that was the old Jesus. Get it? Well, one day I slipped away yet again, and for 2 days my horrified parents could find neither hide nor hair on me, until they received a discharge call from a priest they didn't know, saying, you better come down to the church. Your doctor's here, giving us a lot of shit. It was cute at first, but now it's really getting irritating. Well, my parents didn't care about all that. They were just relieved that I was alive and well, and they sped downtown to pick me up. But in their haste, they careened into an oncoming meat truck, were beheaded and died. I cried one single tear, and not a single tear more, as I thought Jesus would have done if he'd lost his parents in a vehicular beheading. And I was shipped off by the state to live in a forest with some abusive foster parents who hadn't informed the state that they were abusive on the form, who hated religion, who hated Jesus, who hated anybody, in fact, who didn't hate anybody, and who, as would follow, sure as hell hated me. But I bore their hate with a happy heart and forgave them. But this didn't seem to work. When I insisted on attending church on a Sunday, they took away my sandals, forcing me to walk there barefoot and alone over craggy roads of broken glass. Yet when I got there, I'd kneel for hours, praying for my Father in heaven to forgive them, only to get told off for bleeding all over the church. I'd received a beating for arriving late at home, though no time had been set for my arrival. I'd received a beating for sharing my sandwiches with the poor children at school. I'd received a beating for cheering up the ugly kids. I'd received a beating for wandering about, looking for lepers. My life was a constant torture. Yet I bore it with a smile, and it made me stronger. Till this one day, I met a blind man begging by the roadside. I mixed a little of my spittle in the dust and rubbed it over his eyes. He reported me to the police for rubbing dust and spittle in his eyes. And when my foster parents got me back from the police station, they said to me, so, you want to be just like Jesus, do you? And I said, finally, you fucking get it? And they stared at me for a while, and then it all started. My foster mother embedded in my head a crown of thorns made of barbed wire, because she was too lazy to make a proper crown of thorns. And my foster father whipped me with a kettle 9-tooth. And after 2 hours, when I regained consciousness, they asked me, do you still want to be like Jesus? And through all my tears, I said, yes, I do. So they made me carry a heavy wooden cross around the sitting room 100 times until my legs buckled and my shins broke, and I could do nothing but stare at my legs going the wrong way. And they asked me, do you still want to be like Jesus? I almost got sick for a second, but I swallowed it so it wouldn't look weak. And I looked them in the eye and said, yes, I do. Then they nailed my hands to the cross, then my legs around the right driveway, and nailed my feet to the cross. And then they left me there, while they watched television. And when all the good programs were over, they sharpened the spear and asked me, do you still want to be like Jesus? And I said, no. I don't want to be like Jesus. I fucking am Jesus. Then they stuck the spear in my side and left me there to die. They went to bed. And in the next morning, they were quite surprised that I wasn't dead. I nodded hello, and they gently took me off the cross. I touched their faces to show I had forgiven them. And then they placed me in a coffin and sealed the lid. And then they buried me alive with just enough air to live for 3 days. The last voices I heard were my foster parents calling out, "Well, if you're Jesus, you'll rise again in 3 days, won't you?" I thought about it for a while, then smiled to myself and whispered, "Exactly. Exactly.